I will deliver a bold plan to cut taxes and grow our economy. I will deliver on the energy crisis, dealing with people's energy bills, but also dealing with the long-term issues we have on energy supply. We will deliver a great victory for the Conservative Party in 2024.
My fellow Conservatives, it's time for politics to be over, folks. It's time for us all to get behind Liz Truss and her team and her programme and deliver for the people of this country. Let me say that I am now like one of those booster rockets that has fulfilled its function, and I will now be gently re-entering the atmosphere and splashing down invisibly in some remote and obscure corner of the Pacific.
All right, so the UK Conservative Party has chosen the Prime Minister of the UK, the fourth Conservative Prime Minister in 6 years and the third woman to head the UK government. Liz Truss's ascendancy to the top post comes at a crucial time. The nation is facing crisis on several fronts, from higher cost of living to rising energy costs to industrial unrest. There are several challenges for the UK economy. The Indian government can, however, expect the India-UK FTA talks to be expedited. It was Truss who had signed off on the India-UK enhanced trade partnership when she was Foreign Secretary. Let me go across to Richard Pattle, who is co-founder and CEO of True Beacon. He is with me now on the program. Richard, what does the Prime Ministership of Liz Truss mean for the UK at this juncture?
Well, a very good afternoon, Parikshit, and thank you for having me on your show. As you rightly have alluded to, it's not just the domestic challenges that the UK finds itself facing, everything from inflation that is running at a 40-year high, well into double digits, set to accelerate, energy, not just in terms of feeding into inflation, but energy security. We have, strikes starting back in the UK. This is quite reminiscent of what happened in the early 80s, and that inflation, that cost of living crisis needs to be dealt with. And so not just domestically is Liz Truss having to face these, but also, of course, there are very considerable foreign policy challenges, not least in Ukraine and indeed emanating out of China. So I think she will be mindful to continue the work of Boris Johnson, attacking those both domestic and foreign policy issues. But of course, the last 2 months have been a tremendous diversion from the British government's focus on tackling those. A leadership campaign, doesn't matter where you are in the world, of course means that the continuity of government and its focus on those key policies has a pause. And I'm afraid that has been a byproduct of this leadership election.
Right. Also, Richard, give us a sense of how companies like yours are seeing her plan. She has said that she will deliver a bold plan to cut taxes, to deal with the energy crisis, bring down people's energy bills as well, tackle the other issues facing the economy head on. Do you see a fine print yet? And is there a certain apprehension as to what cost will that be for the US economy as well?
Well, the UK economy, I think now...
For the UK economy?
The UK economy, I think even the most optimistic people in the world would admit that it's got a real chance of slipping into recession later on this year, and she needs to deal with that. But listen, I'm a British national, but I'm now living and operating down here in Bangalore. I've been travelling to India for the last 30 years or so. I think that what Britain is needing to do and turning now towards foreign policy is not just focus on the short-term domestic needs of the UK. And Liz Truss mentioned that general election, which is looming in 2 years, and should be very focused on that, of course, but also not to take her eye off the ball internationally. And India, of course, is really key to Britain becoming more international in a post-Brexit world.
Right. And talking about India, the importance of the FTA, everyone has said that Liz Truss and the UK will be desperate to have that FTA. She would like to show a victory, both politically and economically, to her electorate as well. What are some of the deliverables, some of the key takeaways that she would expect and the UK government would expect from the FTA?
Yeah, well, we have to bear in mind now that given where the UK is right now, given all of the headwinds that the country faces, Britain needs India. India is not only a market, a very attractive market for the UK, but also, of course, strategically, geopolitically, India is absolutely crucial as we have seen the balance of power around the world shift. So the UK, like many other countries around the world, absolutely needs India. The demonstration of the signing of the free trade agreement, I think, will be very symbolic for Liz Truss. I think that obviously as Trade Secretary and as Foreign Secretary, she's visited India, helped develop this. That's very important that it has her her fingerprints all over it. She will be keen to deliver it, whether it's by Diwali, as we all hope, or whether it's by the end of the year. But ultimately, she will try to make sure that we either diminish or reduce tariffs across a wide range of goods and services, but it needs to work, of course, just as much for India as it does for the UK. So that is a difficult balancing act. Obviously, we've had the 5th round of negotiations here. Those will continue. I'm sure the diplomatic challenges will remain to get this document sealed. But lastly, of course, this isn't just about delivering a free trade agreement covering a range of goods and services. This is part of the 2030 roadmap. And that, I have to say, is even more important to the UK. And that really is about strengthening all of those diplomatic, military, governmental ties, the institutional collaboration that is required. What's India going to get out of it as well? That's possibly a little harder to answer, but no doubt, for India, there are elements of collaboration across science, technology, healthcare, education as well, that are attractive to India. So I think it's in both sides' interest to get something signed, but not just to leave it as a free trade agreement. It's something broader, it's something long-term, and be in no doubt that Britain needs India exactly now at this moment.
Right. And my final question would be about India overtaking the UK to become the 5th largest economy. Do you think this gap is set to widen? And we're also getting news now that Liz Truss is expected to freeze household energy bills at around £2,500. So how do you see this announcement coming in?
Yeah, I mean, domestically, I have family back in the UK, of course, and many friends. This it's an unprecedented crisis of cost of living, not least for some of the most vulnerable in society back in the UK, old age pensioners who have seen their energy bills spiral out of control, families and so on. And families are making very hard choices now about energy and heating as we go into the winter, of course, and will do. So I think it was largely predictable that Liz Truss would have to demonstrate her commitment to helping British society deal with it. So I think that was expected to a degree. Just in terms of GDP, listen, you don't have to tell me, living here, working here, having seen the amazing transformation of this economy and the exciting chapter that will unfold over the next 10 or 15 years about where India will go. The trajectory is absolutely unmistakable. The GDP, of course, India will, whether you think it's going to be in 10 years, 20 years, even if you're most pessimistic, more so, will be the 3rd largest economy in the world, eventually the 2nd largest economy in the world. And that is now undeniable. But I think that these are, a league table in terms of economic clout, if you like, around the world. I think that what is equally as important, as I've alluded to before, is where India intervenes globally. And that might be through the big institutions that obviously India is part of, that play a role in global security, in global trade. And I think as India progresses, she will become far more dominant on the world stage. That is a good thing, not just for the UK, but for democracies around the world, as this is now obviously the greatest democracy globally and also the most populous country on the planet.
All right, we've run out of time, but Richard Pattle, thank you so much for joining us here on Newcentre, giving us your view on the new Prime Minister, new cabinet that we are seeing in the UK now and the implications for India-UK ties. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Newcentre. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.